Off the top at 6, some mother accused of setting fire to her home, causing the death of her 12-year-old daughter, is facing a new charge today.
This comes while new details about her recent mental health history come to light. News 8's Duncan McLean has the latest on the case against Raconda Singleton.
Brian, Sue, today News 8 found additional records of mental health struggles documented in September of last year, while the Kent County prosecuting attorney amended their list of charges to include felony murder, which carries a mandatory sentence of life in prison without parole. But whether or not Singleton serves that, the 10 years for the underlying arson charge, or ends up back in a mental facility will come down to an evaluation, which reflects the statewide trend over the last decade.
If you look at the statistics from the Center for Forensic Psychiatry, you're seeing the numbers go up in terms of cases referred, people going in through either incompetent evaluations or insanity evaluations.
State of Michigan versus Raconda Singleton.
Raconda Singleton reflecting a growing trend, according to the Kent County Prosecuting Attorney's Office, of crimes committed by people who cannot or should not be held responsible.
If there's any sort of history in the probate court, there's something they can point to, we generally let that go through and figure it out because, we have no desire to convict somebody who's, mentally ill and was not able to conform their requirements, their actions to the requirements of the laws.
Our analysis of records from the 17th Circuit Court today uncovered a petition for a personal protection order, eventually denied, by Singleton's sister, filed last year. The paperwork reflecting that it resembled stalking behavior. That, in addition to an ordered stay in a mental health facility following a separate public incident, will likely throw a wrinkle in the case as it resumes with a probable cause hearing on February 10, if the defense calls for a mental evaluation.
Competency decides whether the person understands the charges as they're filed now. Can she assist in her defense? Is she aware of what's going on? So assuming you get over that hurdle, then the second part is criminal responsibility, which is different. Sometimes it gets mixed up. Criminal responsibility is essentially, could the person, even with the mental health history, essentially conform her actions to the requirements of the law.
If Singleton is found unfit, the case will be transferred over to probate court, which has very different outcomes than the current possibility of life in prison without parole.
It wouldn't be a conviction. I mean, that's a thing. We couldn't, if somebody's deemed, not guilty by reason of insanity, it's not necessarily a conviction. They could plead not guilty by reason of insanity, and it just goes over to the probate court then. It does not go as a conviction. They would not serve prison time. They could be in a facility, they could be in a mental health hospital for as long as the probate court deems necessary. If they are not, if they somehow correct their behavior, they get treatment, they could be released to a halfway house, AFC home, stuff like that.
I should note Becker there is speaking in generalities and not specifically about this case. And Singleton's defense has not requested a mental evaluation yet, but in light of her history, it's very likely. If they do, it could delay this case by months, even more than a year. And in the meantime, she'll continue to be housed at the county jail as things proceed. Brian?